And you've got to make sure you're having those, well, let's say, unusual moles or skin tags looked at. And so we have two guests here from Spectrum Health and also a melanoma survivor. I'd like to welcome Sandra and Audra. Both, Sandra, you're with Spectrum Health. You're with the melanoma
multi-specialty clinic.
Multi-specialty clinic. The fact that we have to have one says a lot to me. Tell me about Melanoma Month and also about what your clinic offers over at Spectrum Health.
Melanoma, we offer free skin cancer screening. Spectrum Health does. We have 4 separate locations. 3 are in Grand Rapids. 1 is in Holland. We have the Spectrum Health Internal Medicine, and Pete's is offering free screening tomorrow from 4 to 6:30, and that is at 1300 Michigan Street. The other one we have is at 68th Street, the Spectrum Health South Health Pavilion. We also have 588 Lakewood Boulevard in Holland, the Spectrum Health location, and we have Spectrum Health Family Medicine in Sparta.
No reason you shouldn't be going, right?
Correct.
All of these places tomorrow.
4 to 6:30 at all of those locations, and it's free.
And did I mention I'm going to be there, Jean?
Really?
I'm going to go and be checked out. So, Audra, here's a question I have for you.
Sure.
Did you go to a free checkout, or was it a family member, or how did you discover that you, in fact, which you are cancer-free right now?
I am, yes.
But you had melanoma. How did that come to? And by the way, because this is the beauty of radio, you can't see, but this is a young woman. This is a young woman.
Yes.
When did you find out you had melanoma, and how was it detected?
I detected it last summer. A mole on my back had become itchy, and I thought that was a little strange. And I was like, well, I think I need to go see my dermatologist. Went in, and he agreed that it needed to come off and be biopsied, and about 3 weeks later, it came back that it was malignant melanoma.
Oh my
Your
goodness.
reaction when you initially heard that was what?
Oh, I was terrified. You don't ever, I mean, at any age, you don't expect to get diagnosed with cancer.
Were you somebody who spent a lot of time outside in the sun?
Not normally. I wasn't an avid sun worshiper or tanner, but, you know, I would be out in the sun, and I
Like
use
most
tanning beds
girls?
once in a while. Right, I'm
Okay.
young, so I would go tanning once in a while.
Any skin cancer in your family?
No.
No. Oh, boy, that's hard.
Also joining us this morning is Dr. Dykema. Dr. Deckinga. I apologize, sir. I'm working with one ear today, and you may call me Cheryl for the rest of the hour, by the way.
Good morning. Whoever you might be.
So is this common? Is this typical that people who don't normally are out in the sun and they just suddenly discover melanoma?
Well, it's becoming very much more common. Matter of fact, of the dangerous cancers such as lung and pancreas and such, this is an increasing cancer, increasing at almost 2% a year compared to other cancers. And in the young, it's the most common cancer in the 18 to 29-year group.
And those are the ones that are most likely to be out and not paying attention, right?
In spite of what we tell them, right?
Well, that's just how it goes. So what about those of us that are a little bit more mature in our, let's say, over 50? For those of us, what do those numbers statistically look like?
Well, actually, they're huge. About 1 in 5 Americans will develop a skin cancer at some point in their life history, and that's a lot. Now, most of these would be basal cell cancer, squamous cell cancer, but a good percentage of them will be melanomas, and most of these can be directly related to outdoor exposure, or worse yet, time spent in a tanning booth.
Dr. Deckinga, why are the incidences of melanoma increasing?
Well, if you go back in American history to the 1950s, when people really didn't spend a lot of time out in the sun, except if it were occupations such as farming. After that time, we started getting more vacation time, and people going to Florida. Later on, people going into tanning booths, and that has a direct relationship to skin cancer.
Obviously, in a place like Holland, Michigan, where we have that great beach, Lake Michigan, right in front of us, do we see higher incidences of melanoma skin cancer here?
Well, if you look geographically, we certainly see more skin cancers in climates where people are out in the sun more. Now, I think in Holland, Michigan, and all of western Michigan, where we have a large northern European population, that hibernates all winter and it gets ivory white and then goes out and burns in the springtime. That's a real dangerous thing to have done to your skin.
Especially when they go to in February, the whole town leaves and goes to Florida, and then we all come back all rice and bright red, of course. It is Melanoma Month, and free screenings will be available all day tomorrow in a wide... 4 to 6:30, excuse me. Well, I almost made it all day. That would have kept you people hopping. 4 to 6:30 tomorrow. There is no excuse, and so often, what is the number one reason people don't go and get checked?
Well, I think we all think it's going to happen to the other guy and not to us. And, you know, in dermatology, and I've been practicing dermatology here in West Michigan for the last 33 years, when we first started, the melanomas that we saw come in the office were largely advanced melanomas. I mean, you know, the size of your thumb, and they're black and they're ugly. And the prognosis was horrible. But over the years, people have become much, much more aware than they have in the past, due largely to our group efforts in telling people about this. So now with melanomas, patients come in with melanoma, they typically are at an earlier stage again, and at the early stages, it's very, very curable, as in Audra's case, right, Audra? Yes, yes. But if you let them go, they can be very, very deadly.
So treatment for someone like Audra, who had just you had one area of your, what did that involve? If you don't mind my asking, is it invasive? Is it she had to go to the hospital? People think, well, I don't have time to go to the hospital. What did that look like?
Well, we won't talk about Audra specifically.
Okay. In general.
Yeah, there are laws and rules, you know.
Oh, and we obey them once in a while, don't we,
She's blushing
Parker?
a little bit, too, so it's okay. We'll leave her alone.
But if a melanoma is caught early, that is, if its depth is less than, say, 3/4 of a millimeter into the skin, the treatment is just wide local excision. Once it gets beyond that part, or if we see very aggressive features in the melanoma, such as a lot of dividing cells and that kind of thing, then we do the wide excision. But then we also sample lymph nodes in the areas where the melanoma was. And there's debate about what you do after that, whether you take out all the lymph nodes, if there's a positive lymph node in the sample. Beyond that, it's chemotherapy, radiation in some cases, but it's not really radiosensitive. So, and the medications that we have now for melanoma are just so much better than they were even 5 years ago.
May is Melanoma Month as we broadcast live from the Commons of Evergreen, 96.5 and 1260 The Pledge. Dr. Deckinga, Audra, and Sandra, thank you very much for your conversation here. Is there anything else that we should know about melanoma that we haven't talked about yet?
I'll have one thing, and that is to caution all young people to stay out of suntan booths. Your first exposure to a suntan booth will increase your chance of melanoma by 20%. I'll say that again. One exposure in a suntan booth will increase your chance of getting melanoma by 20%. And if you've gone 10 times, you will have at least a 35% increase in your chance of getting melanoma. So stay out. They're dangerous.
So you'll see me tomorrow because I fit right into that category. Thank you so much. And I want to encourage everyone, go tomorrow. If you don't know where all the different addresses, what website can we send people to? SpectrumHealth.com. Find out where you can go for free screening.
SpectrumHealth.org?
.org. And find out where you can go for this free screening tomorrow between 4:30 and 6. 4 to 6:30. I'll get it right one of these days. Anyway, numbers was never my thing, but it is important. Get your screening for melanoma now. There's no reason not to. Thanks so much for joining us.
So time for us to take a break. We'll be right back from the Commons of Evergreen, 96.5 and 1260, The Pledge.